From the home of American golf, broadcasting from 24 Golf Studios, right here in legendary Pinehurst, North Carolina, this is more than a golf podcast. It's where the love of the game meets the challenges, the stories, the moments that shape who we are. From tour pros to top instructors to influencers and everyday legends. Get ready for real conversations about golf, life, and everything that lies in between. It's not just about chasing that perfect swing, it's about finding purpose in the pursuit. This is Inside the Swing. I am your host, Jeremy Lee. Are you ready? Let's tee it up.
Gus, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's so exciting to have you here. We've gotten to know each other over this past couple months, with you being the head coach over here at Sandhills Community College with the men's golf team, and having your team in here and watching them kind of develop. So I'm excited to talk to you about kind of the process of what's happening in junior golf that's leading to community colleges. But with specifically community colleges, you know, with the competition, you've had a ton of success in that world. And obviously you're a great player in your own right. And so I want to kind of dive into kind of a little bit about you first, kind of give me your, I'd love to know your history. That's one thing I've never really kind of talked to you about is kind of what's been your progression in the game?
Oh, so I fell in love with the game at an early age in Garner, North Carolina, and I grew up at Garner Country Club. That's where I learned how to play the game. And I just kind of fell into it. Neither one of my parents played, but I feel like the way that I was introduced to golf made my passion for it even more because I truly loved it. And then, wanting to get better as I progressed. I played in high school at Garner High School. It's now Garner Magnet, but it's just on the south side of Raleigh. Okay. And then I was always an NC State fan, so I knew I was going to go to school at NC State, but it would have been a dream to play golf there. So, and I didn't get recruited, so I just ended up walking onto the team, luckily, and so I made my way onto the golf team at NC State and worked my way up to my senior year. That's when I finally started playing in matches, and I played in just about every match my senior year. So. My game got progressively better. Okay. And I really didn't have a ton of junior golf experience other than a few smaller junior tournaments that we would have every summer. But, in today's world, with the AJGA and the TYGA and all the different little junior tours you can play in, there's a lot more opportunity now. So I didn't have all that. But I learned as I went, I just kind of progressively got better and better. And then, I decided to give it a shot at a college and play some professional golf. I'd say probably the first highlight was when I graduated from NC State. My parents sent me to Norway, which is where my mother's from. Okay. And I wanted to go see my family in Norway for 3 weeks as a graduation gift. So I took my clubs, and one of my uncles got me in the Norwegian Open Amateur, they called it, in Oslo, Norway, and I ended up winning it.
Really?
Yeah, it was quite.
Was that your first win, or did you have a couple?
That was my first real win. Okay. That was of any significance, and it was kind of a neat experience. Honestly, it was 36 holes on a Saturday and 36 holes on a Sunday. They crammed it into one weekend.
Oh my goodness gracious!
And ironically, I was paired with in the final round with a guy named Per Hogsrud, who's now a well-known golf analyst in Norway, and they have their own little Victor Hovland fan club podcast.
I bet they do.
So it's kind of neat. But anyway, long story short, I just kind of kept going. Turned professional. Tried Q School many times. Got close a few times. Never got my card, but I did get my Ben Hogan Tour card for a couple years. Played on that for 2 years in a row, and that was very competitive, and I realized how competitive it was because it was not easy.
You think you're good until you get out there and you're like, wow, these guys are really, really good.
Oh, it was an eye-opener for sure. But it was exciting, and it was a great experience for me. I didn't play that great, but made a few cuts, got a great amount of experience, that's for sure. And then I would bounce around, try to play some state opens here and there, and then over the years, I ended up, meeting who's now my wife, Annie, and I decided to slow down a little bit and get my PGA membership. And because I love the game so much, I wanted to just keep doing what I was doing in a different way. So found a way to teach. So currently I'm working at Pinewild Country Club, and I run their golf academy. That's my main job, and I really enjoy working with people, trying to make them better.
Yep.
I started out as a typical pro in the shop, and found my way out of the shop when I really wanted to do more teaching.
Sure.
So through the, luckily Chris Little over at Pinewild he knows what I love to do. Yep. I bounced over to Forest Creek for a couple of years, worked for Waddy Stokes, did a lot of teaching at Forest Creek. Then I jumped over to Pine Needles for 1 year, and that's when I really started teaching full time. And then back to Pinewild in 2008. So that was kind of how I got to where I am as far as, and I'm still at Pinewild. But then I started coaching the Sandhills team, the community college, back in 2007. Basically just kind of started that from scratch because their athletic program sort of took a back seat there for about 10 or 12 years. And then in 2007, they brought back men's golf, women's golf, men's basketball, and women's volleyball. So to this day, they still they're doing great. All the sports are doing great. My golf team has just been unbelievable the last 10 years.
I know.
It's, and I would say that success is a culmination of, my passion for the game and my love to make them better. It's not so much that I'm a great coach, but the area, Pinehurst, is just an amazing area.
Yep.
There's a lot of junior golf here. And I really don't actively recruit. I just basically answer phone calls and emails from kids that are interested in coming to school here. So it's kind of an interesting, luckily for me, I don't have to do a lot of traveling to recruit. And because we are in JCAA D3, we're the lowest level, there's not a lot of kids out there that are looking to go to that type of a program. Sure. But when they find out about us and where we are and what we're all about, I'm starting to get more and more kids that want to come to school here. So.
Yeah, talking about that Division III, is the level of those players a lot better than people realize? Because you see the game now. The game has progressed to where some of these junior players. I mean, you got Blades Brown going straight to the PGA Tour. You got a lot of these players that are huge and that are going, and now college is kind of like up in the air now. I guess people are paving the way to do that. Kind of give me kind of the level of play in the D3 era and what you're seeing progressively as we move into the future.
Yeah, so they're all very talented, and I think what has helped my program is it seems like for the last 5 or 6 years I've had at least one player that has come on and really blossomed. Yep. And done well, and also had a decent little junior playing record, but just wasn't getting picked up by anyone. Yeah. So I've been lucky. I had a great player from Italy, Andrea Subert, and then I grabbed a guy from Scotland named Ben Reed, who now plays for App State. Okay. And doing very well. And then currently, I've got a couple of really good players. I mean, they're all good players. Don't get me wrong. I'm not singling these guys out because they're all good. Right. But the ones that are shining, I'd say Vegas Mellon. He's from Sweden. Yep. And a kid named William Mitchell, who came to me from UNCG after his first semester there, and wanted to give it another shot over here, which I'm so grateful for that because he's a really good player. Yeah. But they're all good, and I think the thing about that level is they're so grateful to have an opportunity to play. Sure. That they put all their time and effort into it. They work hard. I try to help them. I just give them little tidbits here and there and just tell them to go work at it. Mm-hmm. We play a ton of golf here. Our golf practices are mostly playing instead of just beating balls. Yep. They do like to work on their swing, but also, like I said, we're so lucky where we are, and all the area PGA pros are so good to us. And, I reach out to them and I thank them, and the kids thank them, and we get to play at different courses in the area. We may play 14 different courses in 2 weeks. Yep. And never be at the same place twice.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, and my boss, Chris Little at Pinewild, is very, very generous. And that's kind of our go-to, and Longleaf. Yep. Those are our two go-to places. Yep. When we can't find a place to play or just, we want to just have a little bit of practice and then go out and play. So, we're lucky. We're very lucky that we have the facilities without having a quote home course, and the generosity of the supporters, the foundation supporters that help put money into the program. These things are just, it all comes together, and that's what's helped our program be successful.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about everything. We talked a couple of weeks ago on the podcast about there were some college coaches, and it was in the basketball world, that said that they weren't actively recruiting high school students because of the NIL transfer portal. And I wanted to know, like, is that becoming something where they're looking at your kids? Like you said that one kid went to App State. That's a D1 school, right? App State's a D1 school. So, how are you starting to get calls from D1 coaches, or is it just something that's just kind of happenstance?
I think, we're really not affected that much by this, new era of money and NIL and all that good stuff. It's at our level, it's not as prevalent. I think coaches do reach out to me.
Yep.
When a coach is looking to fill out a roster, I think, they see the success of our program. And then, I personally know quite a few coaches, and they might say, Hey Gus, do you have anybody that's graduating that's looking to move on?
Yep.
What do you have? Or, if someone starts to shine really good and starts, showing up in tournaments and finishing top 10, I might get some calls about this person. So yeah, they do reach out to me, but it's not so much about, the money and what they're going to possibly make. I'm still, honestly, I don't really know a whole lot about it myself because I don't have to deal with it a whole lot. But
right.
I can tell you this, the LOI, the letter of intent, is no longer, because you used to, you go to a high school and recruit a player, and for them to commit to you, you would have them sign a letter of intent. That doesn't happen anymore.
Interesting.
So the LOIs are no longer in existence because now it's more about the NIL and how much they can make here and there on their own, with whatever they put on social media and that kind of thing. So,
well, I mean, you've had a tremendous success with Sandhills. How many national championships now?
We've got 5 total, and we've won the last 4 in a row.
Last 4 in a row. That's amazing. That's incredible in itself. So with you not actively recruiting, how are kids finding you, and how are you putting together such talented teams?
So, the golf program, the platforms out there like GolfStat, Scoreboard, Clipped, those platforms are posting all the results of all the tournaments. So, and what I've done for our schedule over the last 6-7 years is try to find good tournaments for us to play in, even though we're, JUCO D3. I'm fortunate that I'm able to get us in some really nice events like East Carolina's tournament at Cutter Creek, Lenore Ryan's tournament up at Hickory, where all these, the field is basically made up of D1, D2, D3 NCAA schools. And we're just a JUCO team, but it makes us better because we see what our talent level, how it compares to those better, those bigger schools.
Interesting. So explain that to me. So you can play against D1 schools?
Yes, we can. In the JUCO arena, we don't have a conference. We are in a region, and we're in Region 10.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that everybody in Region 10 is going to participate in golf. So unfortunately, the teams that we would normally compete against and the ones that we used to compete against, their programs have dropped. COVID actually put an end to a lot of the programs.
Oh, wow.
Central Carolina Community College no longer has a golf program. Wake Tech dropped their golf program. Several schools, Johnston County Community College, that we used to compete against them, and they were in our region, but they're no longer. So we have to find other places to play. So it's actually turned out to be a good thing for us because I've worked it enough where I can research and see, where can we possibly play, and then I fill out my spring and fall schedule looking at those platforms, looking at the schedules, and say, hey, here's a good one. Let's just try to play in this one. And I'll call the coach up who's hosting and ask him if he's got room for a team. And sometimes they'll say yes. So, yes, I think that's part of our success too, is that we're competing against better schools all the time.
Yeah.
So then when we go to nationals, now we're back in our own arena, but these teams are from the north mostly, and some in the west. There's a team from Georgia that's always competitive, Georgia Military, and these are all JUCO D3 schools. But we're so prepared, if you will,
sure,
for the national championship.
Yep.
That I think that's why that's a big part of our success. They go in there with so much confidence because they've been competing against better players the whole season.
Okay.
You know,
so that's interesting because obviously that is not possible in any other sport, correct?
I'm pretty sure it's not. I don't know if 100%, but I've never had any issues with us competing with bigger schools.
Well, that's interesting because I would have never guessed that you would have had the chance to compete against these bigger D1 schools. Now, I would guess that getting into tournaments, a lot of that is because of your connections in North Carolina, or is it because coaches are just generous and they're like, yeah, we have an extra spot and we can fill a spot?
I think it's more so, if they do have an extra spot and they're looking to fill out their tournament with another team, then a lot of times they'll say, yeah, come on. You pay the entry fee and they put you in the field and you plug in your players in the platform and put them on the scoreboard and there they go.
So what's the typical entry fee for a tournament for a junior college?
It varies a lot. I've played in events where the team entry fee has been anywhere from $600 to $800, and then we've played in tournaments where the entry fee is around $2,200. So It just depends, how extravagant they want to make the event. How many extras are in there, but you have to pay the course costs per player and the food, and so it can add up when you have more than 6 players on your team. If you're bringing an individual, it can add to the cost. But I'd say on an average, $1,200 to $1,500 for a tournament.
Okay.
For the school to pay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I assume, are they fairly local to here, or are you guys allowed to travel?
Oh, we could travel. We could, if our budget allowed us to, we could go travel. I could try to get us in other tournaments.
Okay.
If you've ever been on that scoreboard or golf stat, and if you look at the schedule, it is quite a schedule. I mean, you can look all around the country and there's tournaments going on all the time. So it's kind of a neat way to see how you can build your schedule. And we mostly play locally. We don't travel very far other than nationals. So which makes it a little bit easier for us too. We just have a little van and we hop in and we head down the road and tee it up and see how we do.
Yeah. Where's National at this year?
It's in Chautauqua, New York. It's the same place every year.
Oh, same place every year.
For us, for our JUCO D3, it's for golf, men's golf and women's golf now. It's always in Chautauqua, New York.
Do you guys have a women's team at Sandhills?
We currently do not, but we've had them. We just had a hard time filling out the roster and having enough players to form a team. I don't coach the women. Herb Pike was coaching the women, and they have since dropped the program. So hopefully one day they'll bring the women's golf back. Yeah.
Do you think you're always going to have the ability to fill a men's team pretty easily?
No, I've had no problems at all. I don't see that being a problem. Okay. No, I think it's just for the reason it's hard for the women. I think it's because if you're somewhat accomplished in golf as a female, and competitive, you could go to bigger schools. And I think the girls they want to go to bigger schools. So I think it's hard to fill out the roster for a junior college D3 at that level. Because you don't. And don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying that you don't have to be good enough, but there's more opportunity for the girls at bigger schools.
Sure.
And I think that's the reason why it's hard to fill out rosters for girls at Sandhills or any D3 women's golf.
Yeah. What are you seeing now? So like if we have a young lady or a young man that are listening, give me some scores that they need to be achieving to, one, get into maybe a D1, or two, maybe get into a D3, D3 school, or maybe even a JUCO school.
Mm-hmm. So what scoring average?
Yeah, scoring average. Like, is it about grades? Is it about scoring? Is it all of the above? Do they need to play in a number of tournaments? do they have to prove themselves,
Right.
or, what's kind of your criteria? Because you obviously have to have some sort of tryout, right?
So I don't have tryouts. I haven't had them in a while. I started out that way, but once I had my team, once we started becoming successful, I've been able to easily fill out my roster.
Yep.
But as far as D1 go, I can tell you this. I know the D1 coaches are, they're recruiting guys that, are showing up in the junior tournaments that are finishing high, and there's rankings now. They have WAGR rankings. They have junior college scoreboard rankings.
Yep.
So, if you're looking for D1 golf, you're going to have to be pretty well established, and have a decent ranking in the state, have a good tournament record. As far as the scoring average goes, I'm not sure what it would be, but if I were to throw out a scoring average for me and my teams, I'd say 75 or better would be what I'm looking for.
Okay.
As a scoring average.
Yep.
And the ability to shoot under par, honestly.
Okay.
When I look at, if someone's interested in coming to school at Sandhills and they send me an email and, I have my own little criteria that I like to use for looking at these emails, because I get a bunch of them, emails and phone calls and referrals. But if it is addressed to me personally, and if it's not one of these recruiting computer generated, recruiting company emails, I'll usually pass over those. But if it's thought out and well done, and it's a personal email, and there's some insight into the, and some thought into the email, like, hey, I see you've been very successful over the last 4 years, and they've done their research, and I can tell, then I'll pay a little more attention, and then I want to see their scoring record or their resume. And it's 100% helpful if they're a good student, because last thing you want is someone to worry about being eligible to play because they can't keep up the grades. But a playing record is, I'm always wanting that. So if someone sends me a message and, hey, I'm interested in your golf team, I play golf at my club every day, I practice every day, then that's great. But I need to know what you shoot in tournaments.
Under pressure.
I need to know what kind of tournament experience you have. So I'll email them back and say, hey, can you send me a playing record, or can you send me a resume?
Does it matter to you what tour they've played on?
Not really, no. Obviously there's, the AJGA is probably the highest ranked competitive tour. And then, North Carolina has the TYGA, and there's the Hurricane Junior Tour. There's several. And if they'll just send me their playing record and how many tournaments they played in, and, take some thought and put it into like a spreadsheet, I'll definitely take a look at that. And then if I can see that if they do have a 69 in there or a 70, a subpar round, that tells me, hey, they're able to shoot under par. That's key. If a guy, is constantly shooting 76, 75, 78, 76, 75, I don't see that one low score in there, or two, hopefully more than that. But, the ability to go low is important to me. And then the amount of tournament experience.
Now, as far as academics goes, the one unique thing about Sandhills is basically maybe I'm wrong on this, because I've kind of had like, I don't want my kids to go to junior college. I want them to just go straight to university, play sports, those kind of things. But I've kind of changed my tune on that, because college has gotten so expensive. It's gotten so expensive. And so from what I understand is in Moore County, if you're a resident of Moore County and you do fairly well in high school, that your first 2 years of tuition is paid for at Sandhills?
In the Moore County area, if you take a class at Sandhills your senior year, I think it's 1 or 2 classes. Okay. And I think you can either do it online, or you can get bused to the college and take a class. And if you have a certain GPA, then you are eligible to go to attend Sandhills at no cost.
That's incredible.
It is. And to me, it's an absolute no-brainer, because if you're just going to study something general until you decide what you want to do, you can still get the same basic core courses in 2 years and apply those to where you go next.
Yeah.
And save all kinds of money.
Yeah, that in itself is amazing. And do you have to be a resident of Moore County?
I'm not sure, honestly. I don't know the details, but I do know that it's a great program.
Yeah.
And the kids take advantage of it more than you think. Yeah.
No, and that's kind of why I've kind of changed my tune on that, because the last thing I want for my kids, I don't know if you knew this, but I have 4 daughters. And so, having 4 daughters in college at the same time, I mean, not only tuition, but, living expenses and, doing what they need to do to focus on school and stuff like that. But I was like, man, if they could go to college, a 4-year degree is 2 years of gen eds, English, math, just your typical world history stuff that it doesn't really matter where that's taken. You can take that anywhere. As far as transferring those credits to a university, that's what I always get worried about, because sometimes they take them, sometimes they don't. I assume that Sandhills has done a good job in trying to make sure that those are academically transferred as we go into 4-year universities. Yeah.
So the students that I've had in my student athletes, golf team guys, they've had no trouble moving on and pursuing their careers at, the 4-year schools. So yeah, it's a great school. It's extremely well run. It's clean. It's a beautiful campus. Yeah. It's honestly, it's a no-brainer, in my opinion. If the cost of school is such that, hey, I don't know if I can swing this.
Sure.
It'd be tough to swing it. So I think it's a great option.
Well, I mean, even state schools have gotten very, very expensive to attend. And I think I'm pro education, and especially if you're going to do something that's required a degree. If you're going to do trade, that's a little bit different, I think, in my opinion. You can go out at 18, you can start working, but you give up a little bit of experience, in my opinion. Not really so much from a educational standpoint, but just from a life standpoint.
Right.
Like, you got to learn to live on your own at some point.
Oh, sure.
And so, throwing right into the workforce, and, maybe that's a good thing too, because, it's either stay with the parents or go on, or maybe you stay with your parents for a little while. That's another great thing about having it really close. It is very convenient to the area, almost just north of town, barely, but I would still consider it the center of town,
right?
Between Whispering Pines and Pinehurst and all those things. So, that's really important, I think, to note, is there are ways to go to college. And I think that I think Tennessee has a crazy program too. I don't know if you knew this, but something about if you make a certain GPA in high school, that you can go attend any state school in Tennessee, tuition free.
Wow.
That blew me away.
Yeah.
Because, those are some major, you got some major universities. University of Tennessee is a phenomenal university. Have you ever been to that campus?
I have not.
Man, they have done phenomenally well. Their golf center is like, they have like a little 4-hole golf center, and then full practice facility, TrackMan bays. Like, it is legit. It is legit. So as we get out of, junior college and kind of looking towards the future, kind of let me know, is this, being the coach of Sandhills, is that kind of thinking you're going to kind of take this to retirement, or, what's your thought process with?
Oh, I've got it made. I love where I'm at. I love this area. I love coaching the team, and I love my job at Pinewild. I love to play myself. So, yep. I don't know that I would go anywhere else, honestly, at my age, especially. Not too far from retirement. I may just stick it out and finish up here. So, the people at Sandhills are great. All the ones that help me with what I do, Joshua Ward and Coach Apple and Dr. Stewart, the new president of the college over there. They're so supportive. And then, the foundation is very supportive of the athletics. It's just a great program. So, I've got nice support over there, even though I don't work at the college. So my main job is at Pinewild, which is another great place. I love it there. So I can't see myself moving on anywhere.
That's okay.
Honestly.
It's not a bad place to live if you love golf.
You're right. And I get asked all the time especially by the members at Pinewild. So are you getting looked at? Is anybody calling you up for that net head
You
coaching
should be
job?
like, yes, please pay me more.
Yeah. So, no, it's, maybe if I was 10 years younger, I consider a nice head job at a D1 school, for sure. I mean, I would love to. I mean, don't get me wrong. But it's, I just love taking these kids that are just so excited to be here. And, they're not getting picked up by these big golf programs, but they want to play college golf.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like we can provide a great experience for these kids. And most of them are local. My players this year on my team include kids from Roanoke Rapids, Randleman, Charlotte area, Laurinburg, Rocky Mount, and Lewisburg, and Rockingham. So I mean, and most of them will live here. A few of them will drive and commute. And that's challenging. But just to see the excitement in their face when they get their uniforms, they get their new golf bag, and then, oh, Coach, we're playing Mid-South today. This is great. Or Coach, we're playing Pine Needles today. We're playing Pinewild. Just they're so excited to be here. Yeah. And our support system at the college is, as far as the academics go. Yep. They meet with a lady named Marcia Apke once a week for 10 minutes, and Marcia helps them keep their academics in line. And hey, you need to pick it up here, or you need to, turn this in before this date. Keeps them on the straight and narrow. And so being a student athlete is tough. I mean, there's such a commitment for time that it's not easy, to keep good grades and be competitive in your sport. So, it's just, I think the big picture is so nice over at Sandhills, and like I said, the area, the support, the USGA being here, Golf Pride being here. Yep. It's such a hotbed right now for golf, and the expansion of the resort. It's exciting, and I think the kids, once they get here, they realize, wow. And in fact, one of my players that played for Greensboro College after he played for me says, Coach, I wish I could come back to Sandhills. Nothing against Greensboro College, but he just said, I didn't realize how we had it made there. So
he was with you and then left, and then was like, oh.
Yeah, when he was finished up his college, but he said, I would come back and play for you in a heartbeat. And it's not so much me, but it's just the area. It's such a great, if you love golf, it's great.
Well, I don't think there's not too many places in the country that you could come, have a cool small town with this many tour quality golf courses that you could play on a regular basis. I mean, that's got to attribute to some of your success as well.
100%. There's no doubt about it.
It's not like they're playing munis all the time. They're playing...
Or the same course over and over.
Or the same course. They're playing tremendously good golf courses that are tough.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's great
training. I will say this: your boys have had chances to come over here and be members through those season and kind of work on their games, and you've done a phenomenal job, because one, you obviously recruit great kids because they've been nothing but respectful here, and I can always trust them to come in here and take care of things. So congratulations on that, and
Thank you.
Being a good mentor to them. I think we try to do that too here at 24 Golf, is we try to mentor any of the junior kids that come through.
Sure.
And we don't want to just be a coach. We want to really kind of guide them, because there's a lot more to being a great player, and I think there's a lot more to being recruited than just being able to play great golf, like eye contact and how to hold yourself, or how to make a good first impression, or teaching them how to be men or young ladies, and show respect. And that's what I think what the game teaches us.
It does, yeah.
If we could get that into our lifestyle, I think that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I've always had some great feedback, and that it makes you feel so good when you hear something from one of the people behind the pro shop at say course number 9 or something. They say, "Hey, your boys checked in." And by the way, they're so polite, and I always thank them, and I'm glad to hear good feedback. It's always, it makes you feel good. So very proud of that. Yeah. No, we definitely try to do the right thing and I remind them, I say, "Look guys, we're so lucky that we have this. You don't want to mess this up for the next guys that are coming in, the future players that are coming through Sandhills. We want to keep it going. So be polite, fill your divots, fix your ball marks, let faster players through. Whatever you need to do the right thing is important."
Yeah. So. No, that's great. Good character means a lot.
It does.
Probably more than a good golf game. At the
it goes a long ways. I can do that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Pinewild.
Yeah, sure.
Pinewild has went through some ownership changes.
Yeah, so we were purchased November of 23.
Okay.
So nothing's really changed operations wise. I know that there's some future plans.
Yep.
And hopefully soon they'll get going. New clubhouse, conditions of the golf courses are getting really good. At some point, a new golf academy, hopefully for myself.
Yeah.
With some good technology.
Beautiful.
Would be super nice. And I know it's coming. It's just, it's
process.
Time. It's a process, but things are good. Things are good. We're always busy. Chris Little does an amazing job at keeping the club active with tournaments, and Kyle Kirk, our head pro, he knows how to do all the right things, and he runs great tournaments. So the club's doing well.
Good.
You can definitely see sort of a transformation of clientele from. And I'm talking about you see a lot more young families there now.
Yeah, demographic change.
Yeah, demographic change, exactly. Some younger families with some more younger players. I'm seeing a lot more junior golfers out there.
That's awesome to see.
Yeah, so, and one of our biggest thrills recently was one of our, 2 of our staff guys that we have 2 really good players, Simon Baldwin that works on the cart staff and Randall Hudson. And Randall just recently 4-spotted and got in the Myrtle Beach tournament.
Oh, really?
Last week, yeah.
How did he end up doing?
He ended up missing the cut, but it was his first ever tour event. So
amazing.
So
what did he do? Monday qualify?
He Monday qualified. He pre-qualified and then Monday qualified.
That is so hard to do.
Yeah.
People don't realize how hard that is. Like to Monday qualify for a tournament is extra. Those guys are shooting crazy low scores.
Yeah, he shot 66 at TPC Myrtle Beach to get one of the spots on last Monday, a week from today.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Where did they play for the qualifier?
So the pre-qualifier was at Waukesha, and then the qualifier was at TPC Myrtle Beach, and then the tournament was at the Dunes Club.
What did they do? Take top 20 out of the pre-qualifier?
So I'm not sure the numbers, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, top 20, and then it's top 3 or something.
And then for the 4, it's just four spots.
4 spots,
for the Monday at the 4 spot, because they call them 4-spotters. But as far as I know, they're still called 4-spotters.
Gotcha.
So so that's exciting. Yeah. So the golf is big at Pinewild.
Sure.
Talent level is, all over the place, but there's a lot of good players. There's members that are, retiring and then picking up golf. So they're new to golf. Yeah. And so, it's also rewarding to help someone figure out how to hold the club right and see the first good shot go up in the air.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat, So I teach a broad spectrum of talent levels for sure. I teach good players, college players, and, the membership, the PWGA, the PMGA, so it's all encompassing. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, talking about teaching, what's kind of like your philosophy? What's your kind of belief in the golf swing?
Yeah. So, I'm sort of an old school teacher. I don't have all the technology. I do like to use video when I feel like I need to, but, for me, I like to, I think the most important part is the interview process right away. Okay. When someone comes down, especially if it's their first lesson, I'll say, well, give me a little background. Tell me a little bit about yourself and, your golf game, and one of the questions I'll always ask them is, if there's one thing you could take away from this lesson today, what would it be? What would you like to work on the most? So I'll let them make that decision, which can kind of help me, figure out how to get to that point during the lesson. So, I like to watch them obviously hit balls for a little bit, and I'll just pay attention to the ball flight.
Yep.
And I'll see, I wonder why the ball's doing what it's doing. So then I'll try to, see if their grip's off or if their setup is off. And then, I try to start as simple as possible with setup changes and then possible grip changes. And then as we progress, then maybe we need to try to, adjust a path in their swing or some position. But I try not to give them too much because it's easy to get going down that rabbit hole, So, and there's an old saying in the teaching business that less is more. And,
absolutely.
You don't want to feed them too much information because it can be a little bit confusing. But,
I know.
No, I'm pretty simple. I like to watch ball flight. I like to hear the ball being hit, and a good ear. You can tell a good golf shot when you hear it.
100%.
So,
in your opinion, for a beginner golfer, I assume it always starts with grip. And then just kind of takeaway.
Yeah. So, usually obviously you want to have them hold the club properly. So, grip is probably the first thing. Overall setting up properly as far as your alignment, your ball position, your posture.
Yep.
Those are just key elements to a good setup. So I would say it's not just the grip, but, getting into the proper setup, athletic position so you can make an athletic swing.
Yeah.
That's so important. But, the alignment, the posture, the grip, the ball position, all those things that make up the setup. Yeah. I'm going to check them all out.
Where do you like weight on your feet?
Depends on the shot, honestly. For I'd say a standard, full swing 7-iron, I would say probably, 55% weight on the left, 45 on the right.
What about front to back?
As far, you mean toes to heels?
Toes to heel.
I'd say balls of the feet.
Yeah, all the time.
Pads of the feet.
Yep.
Yep.
Just barely.
Just
barely kind of on that last shoelace. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of, I always like to ask instructors because there's some instructors out there that say that you should be on your heels. Like in that balance, because that's where we're at the top on both sides, left and right. Mm-hmm. And they just want to keep you there. So it's just like, that's what I'd love to hear, different philosophies on where weight shift.
I feel like it's more of a ready feel, an athletic feel when you're slightly on the balls of the feet instead of the heels. Just because from a balance standpoint at the beginning, I think that's so important. Yeah. Especially if you're in windy conditions, and you got to get yourself anchored and, so I've always felt like, I'd say if you had to favor maybe a little bit towards the heel, but still balls of the feet. Yeah. Pads of the feet. Well,
let me go to this first. Cause you said 55% on a 7-iron. Mm-hmm. Give me your weight dispersion as they go through the set.
Then, say maybe for a driver, you'd be, 55% right side because you're tilted back a little bit and you want to get behind the ball and launch it. Yep. Then the shorter the clubs get, the more your weight goes towards the left. Yep. Your ball position will change.
How much would you move it?
It's not going to be a dramatic difference.
Like 60, 65%?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, just a touch heavier on the left side.
If you're hitting a gap wedge and you're trying to knock it down a little bit, then you may put, more percentage on the left without much weight shift, just kind of stack and tilt type visual and compress the ball.
Are you on those wedges? Are you keeping them on the left side?
For the most part, yeah.
Yep. More like a 3/4 swing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you wouldn't want to really
not shift weight
much at all for the shorter shots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of people trying to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just trying to make that shift.
The modern swinger is definitely more centered and rotational. Yep. Than the old slide swings back in the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I did. I saw a talk by an instructor that's very well, has some tour players and stuff like that, and he talked about a huge weight shift to the right, hands really tall, and I was like, man, that's really old school.
Yeah, Jimmy Ballard used to teach that dramatic shift of weight. Yeah, from going back to the right and then through to the left. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many ways to play this game.
It is, yeah. And that's the beauty of it too. It's there's not one perfect golf swing and there's not one perfect golf philosophy of a swing, but it's there's just key elements, key points that you can help someone with that'll make their ball striking better. Yeah. And you have to find that. That's where you have to experiment a little bit and try to find that.
How important do you think is ball and swing speed?
It's important. I mean, especially in today's game for the tour players. I mean, they have to have good, swing speed and ball speed. It's just, it's the way it is now. Golfers today are so much more athletic and so much more powerful. And it is truly amazing. Even the kids that I get on my Sandhills team that it just blows my mind how these kids that even don't have the incredible junior playing records and they had played baseball or some other sport, and all of a sudden they're good in golf and they want to come to Sandhills and play golf. And I've had those before. And it's amazing right away the distance that those guys can still hit, that not still hit it, but hit it just because that's their mindset.
Yep.
They know everybody hits it so far, so that's how they swing the golf club.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. But
well, even in here, when I see, I try to talk to players and I was like, listen, it's great to get numbers. And I'm all for that. But once your numbers are good, don't just rapidly do it. Like, don't try to tweak it to the the point, the decimal point.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's about, can you hit the shot? And so that's what I try to get them to go is like, hey, okay, we've figured out where our path is. We figured out now let's go. That's what I love about doing simulator golf is because you can see those numbers in action on a course. Where if I hit a bad shot, I just kind of take a peek of the numbers that make the most sense, club path, launch angle, those things, and just kind of see what I did on that shot, and maybe what visually changed the way that I saw it. What made me nervous? Was it a right OB or a left OB or water right? What made me make that tweak? And so that's what I really love about simulator golf and the fact that you can play 18 holes in less than an hour.
Yeah. That's quite an advantage.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's PGA Championship week.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
so
that's right. They're at Quail.
We are 2 hours away from Quail. I'll be on the range tomorrow.
Nice.
Which will be great. So I'm looking forward to that. I did a little bit on the range for the U.S. Open.
Okay.
Which is fun. It's just a different experience. You go out there and watch those guys.
Oh, it's just fun. It's so much
wild how good they are.
Yeah. I've always said it's, as a good player, as a player myself and you yourself, you've played tons of golf and you've hit great shots but it's so impressive to watch someone like when you're a patron and you're watching tour players, it is impressive.
It is.
It really is. So it's a lot of fun. I'm glad you're going, and I'm planning on going on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm going with a few friends.
So you're just going to enjoy it?
I'm just going to go watch and enjoy it. Yeah.
I actually like the range volunteer session. With the CPGA, it's nice because you can kind of get over there and just be interactive with the tour pros.
Yeah, you see how they practice, how they warm up.
Yep.
The routines that they have. It's kind of neat to see the different personalities and, I
know some are very technical. Like you look at a Justin Rose and he has a team of like 10 people.
Yeah.
And they're like looking at his every move. And then you got the Scotty Schefflers where he's just like, just hit it. Yeah. Just hit the ball. So who do you think you got this week?
Well, Rory's obviously probably the
he'll be the favorite.
Heavy favorite because of his success at Quail. It's always good. It's always good. Scotty's going to be there. Justin's playing well.
Justin is playing well.
By
the way, what do you think about Shane Lowry's reaction this weekend?
I hate to tell you this, but I don't know how he reacted. I know that he did he three putt the last hole or missed the short one on 17?
Yeah, he three putted, but the three putt didn't even matter because he made the putt.
Straka.
Yeah, Straka made the putt.
But what was his comment?
Well, it wasn't his comment. It was his demeanor. He just looked so ticked off.
Yeah.
Like he was mad. But he just refused to have even a conversation after the round.
Oh, okay.
Like he almost treated it like it was a major championship or something. Like it was just weird.
Yeah.
I just felt like you guys are out here every day like losing is 90% of the time. But I mean, once he missed the first putt, it didn't even matter, you know, but he 3-putted and then he just got real. But that 3-putt, if I probably had to look at the numbers, that 3-putt probably cost him $200,000.
Yeah. I can imagine that because he did miss a short putt on 17, I believe, if I remember right. I heard someone say he missed a short putt for par on 17. So,
yeah, I didn't see 17. I just saw 18. I missed 17.
So evidently, I think that put him in a little bit of a weird frame of mind. And then for him to do what he did on 18, I guess he hit his first putt way by the hole, is what I heard. So obviously he was distraught. And then,
well, yeah, his first putt was atrocious. It was a pull and long, like
so he was probably
long.
Flabbergasted and just upset. And you know, you can get emotional in that arena, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think he had
But he's had so much success.
Yeah, but wasn't there an interview at the Masters also where he was a little bit upset?
Yeah, over people asking about Rory.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not here to talk about Rory.
Yeah.
I'm here to win a golf tournament.
Yeah.
Or don't ask me any questions about Rory.
He's a great player, though.
He is a great player.
Yeah, so...
I guess there's a little bit of professionalism that has to go. You know, yes, guys are allowed to have emotions. You know, I get that. But if it's such an emotion that you can't actually talk about it after the round, it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough blend of fire and competitiveness, and then, you know, the ability to turn back and talk to the press and be polite and participate. It's tough.
Because I think we as fans, we want to hear, like, I think we want to hear that. Like, we want to hear, man, what happened? Like, you know, where do you feel you went wrong? Or, you know, what was your mind frame? And you know, not to say that we're trying to like, oh man, you screwed up. That was awesome. You know, we don't, I was rooting for him. It was awesome. It was a great match between him and Sepp all day. I think it was like 1 stroke difference almost the whole day, except for like the middle of the round where Sepp got up 2, but then he went bogey and they were back to even.
Yeah.
But I just think, I don't know. I just I don't like that because listen, everybody has bad days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't negate the fact that that's your job. And, you know, the fans pay your salary. So, you know, have a little respect and, you know, hey, take it on the chin and go back out there. Yeah.
No, you're right. It is nice to see someone that can handle that. And that's, you know, the greats like Arnold Palmer, the guys that would do everything they could for the patron and, you know, and do the interviews and you know, give them 100% at the interviews. Those are the special ones.
Have you had a chance to play quail?
I have once. It's been a while though. It's before even before the 2 or 3 redos that they've done.
They've done a lot over there.
So yeah, but it's a great golf course, great facility, great club. And it's a hard golf course.
Usually what, 16, 17 under? Usually wins that golf tournament?
It does. Yeah, the scores are usually pretty low.
If Rory, I was talking about this last week, is if Rory wins this week, they go to Ireland, which he'll have another. Wouldn't it be one crazy year is if he got the career Grand Slam and the Grand Slam in 1 year?
That would be crazy.
That would be nuts.
Things are lining up for him though. If he does well here, and then of course he's playing at his home club and in the Open Championship.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean it's.
I think he still holds the course record there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That could be something.
It's going to be quite the accomplishment. So, but he's got. I mean, Oakmont. I mean, I would guess that he would be good at Oakmont. You know, that would probably set up pretty well for him. It's going to be
I'll take his game and go anywhere.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, he does seem to favor golf courses that play more right to left, though. So I think a lot of those courses that are, you know, you have a lot of left to right, slightly moving left to right courses. I think they do give him trouble because it's just not a shot shape. It doesn't look good to the eye.
Right.
You know, I think that, do you think personally is like there's certain courses that just look good to you and certain golf courses?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'm definitely a right to left guy myself.
Yep.
I love holes that go right to left. You know, I struggle moving the ball the other way. And so when I see a hole going that way, it's definitely more challenging for me. You know?
Yeah. Before we leave, I want to talk a little bit about that, because we talk a lot about instruction on the podcast, and we talk a lot about just, the tour and just life in general.
Mm-hmm.
But give me philosophies on playing a golf course, because we don't talk enough about that, because I think at the end of the day, we got to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get stuck is my club in the right spot at the top. But let's just say we're going to play a hole that's right to left with water on the left. So almost like what course is
18
like?
at TPC.
Yeah, 18 at TPC. That's the one I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you play? Would you play a cut? Well, you like it right to left, but would you play out to the right and play a draw? Because I think a lot of players think, man, what if I draw it too much?
Yeah, so for me, knowing that my ball's normally going to draw,
Yep.
what I like to try to do on holes like that is try to hit what I feel like is going to be a little bit of a cut shot, which ends up being a straight shot for me.
Okay.
So I won't necessarily aim well right and hit a draw, because my fear would be that I hit a straight ball and I hit it too far right. So I like to try to just aim slightly down the right side, try to hit what feels like to me a little bit of a cut,
Yep.
which ends up being for me a fairly straight ball or a very slight draw. So that would be my way of playing the hole or hitting the tee shot.
What about for somebody who maybe doesn't control their ball as well?
Yeah. So,
what do you think the safest way to play that is? Play it like you're going to hit in the water and just do everything you can.
if someone is a fader of the ball, they're just going to have to try to line up down that left side and hit your shot.
Yeah.
So you have to commit to, the shot shape that that you're probably going to hit. And when you're looking at a target off the tee, and I'm big on this, pick a target, and look at that target. Know that's where you want your ball to end up, and then you aim based on what your shot shape is. But if you start looking at the trouble and looking at where you don't want to go, then that's a negative thought.
Yep.
So what I like to do is look at where I want to go. That's where I want to go, right there. And that's when I go through my routine, I am seeing my shot and I am going for that tree off in the distance, not starting it out over the water and trying to cut it back in, but knowing where your ultimate target wants to be. That's what you need to focus on. Okay.
So that's interesting, because this has been one of my things about indoor versus outdoor, because everything with technology is based on the target line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say it's the tree in the distance. It's the line on the screen. So we're all in agreement that is the target line, right?
Mm-hmm.
But where it gets different on the indoor is let's just say I'm trying to play a draw, but I'm looking at swing path numbers or club path numbers, and I'm trying to get to that, maybe a -1 or 0 or +1 or stuff like that. And so it can be confusing. So I've been trying to start people on the start line a little bit more than the finish line,
mm-hmm.
because especially for players who play a lot in here, because it becomes, so if I'm hitting a dead straight shot inside the simulator, it's going to be straight. But let's just say I'm going to play a draw and I'm looking at the target. Well, that ball is going to finish left.
Mm-hmm.
Based on my club path.
Mm-hmm.
My club path is neutral with a slightly closed face. And so that has been tough to kind of like figure out,
mm-hmm.
because we both know that the brain is so important when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so if we're training these guys to have a certain path that they're looking for, but then they always practice like that, then I guess I got to figure out a philosophy to teach them.
Well, I'm a believer in path as well. And I'm just, what I was mentioning before was the routine, the confidence, when you're on a tough tee shot, when you're on a challenging tee shot, obviously you got to step up there and man up and hit a good ball. Right. So it's about the target to me and not the trouble. And then now, if I want the ball to end up at that target and I know I'm going to hit a cut, then I do have to have a starting path
Yep.
Right. So then, I may have the routine where I have a little leaf on the ground 2 yards in front of my ball that I'm going to aim over. And that might be a little left of that target because I'm playing a cut. Then I'm still all about that. But I'm saying that I'm looking really hard at where I want to hit this golf ball.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at where I don't want to hit it. That's my point.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, and I agree. No, I definitely agree with the target thing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how to make that feel the same indoors. Mm-hmm. That's where I have the trouble. So that's actually on me. I agree. Like trying to figure out how to hit a target, but I'm training my players to basically play everything off of the start line indoors. Because that's really what you're playing. You're playing the start line indoors where you're playing the target outdoors. So trying to make sure that they can take that to the golf course
right.
and have the same result is where I'm trying to make sure that I'm really helping my players understand it brain wise.
Yeah, I mean that it should work.
You would think, but I think it's like because on simulator the start line is the target line. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So we're training that player to start it and finish it on the same line, which is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So when we say, oh well, you got a -4 or a +4 where I'm paying a draw. Well, they're still thinking about the start line. They're still thinking about the straight line. So that's what I'm trying to figure out how to and that's where I've got to improve is how do I make that a little bit more conducive to go from indoor to outdoor and kind of get their brain thinking in the right direction. Because if they go to the golf course and they think target line, they think target, then, and they're so used to being start line, I just got to make sure that they get away from they pick the target, but then you got to pick, like you said, you got to pick the start line.
Right.
And then you got to decide what you're going to hit. Are you going to hit a draw? Are you going to hit a fade?
Right.
And kind of go from there. So it's hard, man. It's hard being an instructor. I think the biggest thing that's made it hard for me is just physical limitations of players.
Yep. 100%.
That is really hard to overcome.
Yep. And that's part of the interview process when you ask them if there's anything going on that, any replaced hips or knees or anything physically that you can't do. And it's important to know those because, they can only do so much if there's a problem with flexibility and so that's part of the, the challenges. You're right. It's difficult when you have limitations. It's hard to, to get them to certain positions. So that's when you got to experiment with other things that might help them, So,
like I
said, it's the beauty of the game. There's no perfect swing out there, and
as long as you know where the ball is going, that's all that matters.
Yeah,
that really at the end of the day, if you can replicate whatever swing you have, and it goes the same way every time, that's probably how you can be the best player you can be.
Yeah.
You may not be tour level, but you're going to at least be playing good golf and having fun.
That's right.
It's that military golf that gets really hard. That's the hardest part. So, can people take lessons from you outside of the club, or
Absolutely.
do you just do internal lessons?
No, it's I teach outside the club, 100%. Well, you're welcome to come. I have a website, gusulrichgolf.com.
Okay.
And there's some examples of lesson pricing on that website.
Perfect.
And what I offer. It also has a little bit of information about my Sandhills golf team and Pinewild Country Club. And also pinewildcc.com is our website for the club.
Okay.
But I can teach outside the membership and would love to see you.
All right. Love that. And social media, are you on social media at all?
I do. I have Instagram.
Okay.
Yep. And Facebook.
Do you know the handles? Do you know your handles?
My Instagram is Parbuster Gus.
Parbuster Gus. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll make sure that we get that out to our listeners. And as always, we're here to grow the game and we're here to practice with a purpose. If you're coming to the Pinehurst area, make sure that you stop by 24 Golf. It's 6-bay indoor golf club here in Southern Pines. And you can book a time if you just come into the area, or if you're local, make sure you come and check us out. Our membership rates are fantastic. and we're 24-hour access. And I can't thank you enough, Gus, for
Thank you, Jeremy.
coming to the studio and having a little chat with me.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great place here. Beautiful place.
Thank you, and congratulations on all your success with the boys.
Thank you.
You're doing a tremendous job, and I know the community sees that as well, and Pinewild obviously sees that as well. So hopefully you'll be rewarded with your new teaching facility soon once they
That would
get
be
up and
nice.
going.
That would be nice. But I'm in the meantime, I'm happy as I can be. So
No, absolutely. So, well, thank you as always for listening to our podcast as we're growing this podcast around the world. Again, if you come into Pinehurst, make sure you come in and see us. Come check out the studio. But until then, I'm Jeremy Lee. This is Inside the Swing, and we'll see you on the tee.